of the light that hung the stars in the night, a perfect thought since time began. I am one with the love that's holding on.
Please pray with me. Oh, sweet, sweet Spirit, as we come together this beautiful day that you have made for us, we are in such deep gratitude to be here together, to worship, to be in community, to show our love and support of one another. We know that each and every person here is a brother and a sister. We're all children of that one Spirit. So in knowing this community is just so beautiful and so loving, so kind and giving. And we know that we are here today to just listen to Reverend Jen's message, take in what she has to say, those words that come through Spirit, through her, to be in gratitude for each and every person who has made this service what it is, who has done everything that it takes, for our beautiful music ministry, for Denise Rosier today, for our technical people who make this all come together and put it online for us. We are in just such deep gratitude of each and every volunteer and each and every person in this community. And those who are not in this community right now, who are somewhere else, who are doing their own thing. And still, they are all part of this same oneness, this same Spirit. Whatever they're doing, wherever they are, each and every person on this planet is part of that one. And we are all kindred spirits. So in this, we are so very grateful and so very thankful for this time together and this beautiful day, as we say together, and so it is. Have a few words of wisdom today regarding going further together. First one is from Rumi. Out beyond the idea of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. From an African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, begin where you are. It would be unscientific to begin anywhere else.
Take a moment, if you would, and just tap into that wonderful thing we call imagination and walk with me in this imaginary space. What I want you to imagine is I want you to imagine a place where people live in harmony. I want you to imagine a place where all people, regardless of what they look like or how they act or where they came from, are treated with respect and love and compassion. Consider, if you will, a place where everyone is thriving, joyful, grateful. And when there is loss, everyone comes together in support. And when there is abundance, everyone comes together and shares. Find me that place. I'll meet you there. As we move into the close of the month of October, I'll meet you there is our title for today. And it's such a beautiful idea to consider the places we can be where we can relish and cherish the mannerisms and the behaviors that I shared with you. And I'm going to share a couple of ideas today about how that can come to be, because anything is possible. I want to thank Sharon for bringing forth one of our quotes for today. This is one of my favorites from Rumi. And it says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. But he goes on to say this: when the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. We have a global vision, Centers for Spiritual Living, of a world that works for everyone. And I remember years and years ago when it was first launched, and some people thought that it was a little too crazy. Really? A world that works for everyone? How are you going to pull that off? And the truth is, we can. It takes a concerted effort. It takes a number of people moving in the same direction with the same ideals and the same ideas to make that happen. And as we look into the message I have for us this morning, we discover that our global vision really isn't that far out there compared to some of the things that are actually coming forth on the planet today. You see, in the Hebrew scriptures of the Bible, there are many references to lifting one's eyes up. There's the comment of lifting your eyes up, looking to the mountaintop, looking up, looking upward, raising your arms. And we have this misconception that meant that in the Hebrew scripture time frame, they all thought God was up there somewhere. But that's not what they were talking about. They were talking about lifting up that vibration, lifting up that idea, lifting up that sense of self to something greater, grander, bigger. That's what those comments and those statements are about. You see, each one of us is spirit in form. Completely, totally, always supported as spirit. Where we fail to do justice to ourselves is we sometimes try to go to that place that the circumstances and the conditions out there aren't real. And we have never taught that in this philosophy. The conditions are real. The circumstances are real. We are not taught to ignore them. That's called an emotional bypass, spiritual bypass, excuse me. That's called a spiritual bypass. We don't want to skip past that. The conditions are real. They're here for a reason. They support us in our growth and in our learning. And yet, when we focus on Source, when we focus on that inner presence within each of us, it doesn't matter so much what's going on out there. It doesn't affect us so much because we stand solid, we stand grounded in spirit and in the power. There are always appearances. And if you want to go crazy with appearances, watch the news, turn on the TV, go to social media. It's a little crazy, lots going on there. And whether these appearances are individual or global, there is context to them. There is a sense of what they are. They will always exist, always. I've used the term before, airy-fairy. I'm always accused of my airy-fairy religion, my airy-fairy belief system. And I never once said that that person is not suffering. I refuse to accept that. I've never said that. I have never said that, oh my goodness, there's something going on in my world right now and I'm stuck, but I'm going to pretend I'm not. I've never done that because that is not what our belief system is about. it is never wise to ignore what's going on around us. We have the ability to know and recognize a power deep within that can move us through, that can support us. And God bless those of you who have a partner in this philosophy as well. Because whether you appreciate it or not all the time, there's that voice that's always kind of reeling you back in and helping you get back on track with exactly how that's meant to be. In the story of Jesus, the master teacher, he achieved resurrection. He achieved resurrection because he did not skirt around the idea of suffering. He faced it head on and went straight through it. That was part of the plan for him. In the Hebrew scripture, in the Psalm of David, David was talking to God, and he said, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff comfort me." Now, prior to that particular verse, David had been talking about God as the great shepherd, and all of us as the sheep. And what we know about the shepherd is that the shepherd takes care of the sheep. He watches out for all of the flock. And the sheep, as I understand it, are a little reckless and aren't paying attention, and they're wandering off and doing all this stuff, but the shepherd's always rescuing them and bringing them back in. And so this is such a beautiful scripture for us to look at, because it talks about, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Something happens to your psyche, to your emotional state when you lose a loved one. Something unbelievable happens within our being, and I don't care how grounded, centered, solid you are, it often derails us a little bit, and it creates this sense of fear of who's next, or what's next, or what's happening to me. And when we have that sensation, sometimes we kind of want to hunker down and kind of go into a little bit of hibernation and pretend that we don't feel that way. And what I want you to understand, and what I want to encourage you to do, is to feel the feeling. Because every emotion that shows up within this beautiful, amazing being that was created for us is to help us learn, grow, evolve, and move forward. Every emotion. And as we know, spirit within each of us is expressing through us. And if we're shutting it down, if we're trying to turn it off, and good luck with that, and if you found a successful way, I'd like to hear about it, but we want to shut it off, then that beautiful essence that is expressing in this life through us is hampered in its expression. So we want to pay attention to that. Mary O'Malley said this: "Opening to life, you bring into full engagement with what is happening rather than keeping you caught in a conversation about life. It means giving up your war with what life is bringing you." How often does something incredible happen for you, and in the next moment, you find yourself complaining about either the restrictions of the gift, or the challenges, or something else that you still want? And we don't take the time to live in that space. This woman wrote a really cool book. It's called "What's in the Way is the Way." What a concept. What is in the way is the way. In her book, she talks about imagining for a few moments every day, every single day, that you have no pressure in life. Whatever it is that is constantly chatting around in your head on a daily basis, for a few moments doesn't exist. And she just encouraged you to sit with that idea and know that in this moment, in this now moment, right here, there is nothing I need to do. There is no place I need to go. There's nothing I have to figure out. And I can release all of that pressure of life. And then to take inventory on that moment. How do you feel? How does that feel in your body? No one is saying ignore those things. We're just saying take a break from them for Pete's sake before they make you crazy, because, it can happen that way if we get too caught up in it. Because what I know in practices like this is I feel a sense of relief. And sometimes it's as simple as reminding myself, today is Sunday, October 31st. And I'm over in January trying to figure something out that's happening in January, and I don't need to. I can come right back to today, to this moment. I had a conversation recently with my mentor, Dr. Frankie Timmers, and she's just an incredible woman. And when you come into ministry, for the first 3 years, you have a mentor and a sponsor who, I won't say they crack the whip, but they sure help you keep things aligned. And I was talking about a circumstance with an individual who, and let me just be really clear before any of you try to figure out if it's you, not even in the state of Colorado, not even affiliated with any of us, so anyway. I've been having challenges with an individual who cannot seem to be organized and keep track of some things that they are holding for me that are critical for me, really important for me. And I was seeking prayer support, and I was saying that, I'm really trying to trust this person, but every time I turned around, they've dropped the ball, or I'm getting this weird email that says, oh my gosh, no, we're not doing this, we're supposed to do it this way, and there's been all this confusion and chaos, and I said, how do I move past this? Help me. And she said, your trust gets to be in God and the process that God is in charge of. You do not have to have trust in this individual because Spirit is going to bring this forth. And I'm sitting there going, okay, so I kind of knew that, but where'd I go? But it was such a beautiful reminder to me. And so when we talk about faith, when we talk about having faith, and we talk about having trust, let's pay attention to that. Because there are people in your life, I'm certain of it, because there are people in my life that I really can't trust. They're going to do something wonky every once in a while, and I'm going to go, I don't know what that was about, and I tried to trust them, and what I have to reel it in is the fact that I trust in God and the process that God is bringing forth. That's the peace. That's the peace. Ernest Holmes says this, we must transcend the appearance even though we admit it is a fact. We must transcend the appearance, even though we admit it is a fact. We're not so cold-blooded as to say to a person with pain that there is no such thing as pain. We admit this fact, but it is quite different to admit its necessity. Disease, accordingly, is a fact, but not a truth. That's amazing. That is pretty amazing. So we don't discount or discredit. We don't go up to someone and say, well, I don't understand why you're so sick. Where's your consciousness? Because the facts are that the body suffers from time to time, that things happen. But the truth is that we can live free and we can be complete and perfect whole individuals. So this week I invite you to move out of the story that you have about what life was supposed to look like or how life was supposed to feel. We can get stuck in that field of right and wrong. And you can test it. Here's how you can test it. Every time this week you think someone did something stupid, crazy, silly, or insane, you put a little tick mark on a tablet. Most of us have phones. We can do this in our phones. Because what we're saying is that person is wrong. In this moment, somebody did something wrong. And the more we become consciously aware of that wonderful thing that we do, the more we can move away from that until we can start having hours upon hours each day where nobody's wrong. Life just is. So we get to find ways to keep our old stories and our beliefs and our hurts and our fears at bay. We get to transcend the reality of them. And by transcending it, it means that I'm very aware of all of the gunk that I went through my whole life. Every heartbreaking, tear-jerking moment. I'm aware of it, but I don't have to own that energy anymore. I don't have to step back into the puddle of it anymore. I can transcend from that and go, I learned a lot from that. And that was a tough time, and I got through it. And I'm okay. That's what we're talking about with this idea. In this month's Science of Mind magazine, there is an article called Adventures, An Adventure in Faith by Dr. Ernest Holmes. And it's a couple of pages, but I just wanted to bring a little bit of this here today because he talks about Jesus, the master teacher. And what Jesus taught us was the idea of successful living. If you go back and you look in the Bible and you use the context of more of a metaphysical meaning and you look at the language of Jesus and let go of some of the dogmas that we've been taught over the years, he said over and over and over again all the things we can do to have a successful life. And one of the amazing things is that he said is that he did miracles and he did all of these wonderful things, and every single time he didn't go, yep, you're welcome. Every single time he said, and you can do this, and you can be this, you can have this. Just as I have done, just as I have demonstrated for you, you can as well. He was not the great exception. He was the great example. All those years ago, teaching us how to live in community and in harmony and in a world that works for everyone. And here we are all these years later, looking for new truth sayers when the truth has been with us all along. Holmes says in this article that if Jesus were to speak to us today, he would say, you are poor and sick and weak and unhappy. You don't know how to get along with one another. Problems of human existence are so great that you sit in despair, mulling over your troubles. But this isn't necessary, because there is a presence within each of us that is already perfect. We do not need to worry about the past or the future. All we are called to do is make the best decision for today. We are at choice. We can live in fear or faith. I personally choose faith. So I'll give you a little homework. This week you can take some time for a spiritual practice, whether you go about it in the way that I was describing a moment ago or you do this particular practice. Take time and sit down with your breath. It's going to be tough to leave your breath in the other room, so you're going to sit down with your breath, and you're just going to breathe in slowly, and you're going to breathe out slowly. And in this moment, in this space, as you're just sitting and breathing, and not focusing on anything else, I want you to consider an object in your home that represents a challenge or a concern in your life. Might just be something that's sitting by on the table by where you personally are at that moment. It could be anything. And you hold that in your hand. And as you hold it in your hand, I want you to lift your eyes above the horizon. So if you're in your home, look up towards the ceiling. If you're outside, look to the sky. It's going to be chilly this week, so you might want to do this in your home. Consider that there is a power waiting to support you right now. And all you have to do is let this item go. You don't have to fix it, you don't have to change it, you don't have to put it in a box, you don't have to save it for next Tuesday, you don't have to do any of those things. You just get to release it, knowing that there is a power and a presence that's going to take it on and remove it from you. And then as you continue to breathe, invite Spirit to just tell you the truth about the situation. I don't know about you, but when I go into that space of asking God to tell me what's going on here, 99.9% of the time, it isn't even close to what I've been thinking was going on. Do this process this week, 10 minutes. Give yourself 10 minutes a day, every day this week. Put it in your phone as a reminder on your calendar if you're one of those individuals who forgets to do stuff that you thought was going to be important. If I schedule it, and I schedule a lot of my spiritual practices, they get done. Journal about it if you choose, but you don't have to. But all I'm asking you to do is take 10 minutes a day, every day this week. Thomas Troward said, "What we shall eventually attain is not what we merely wish, but what we regard as normal." Normal. There's been a lot of talk about normal for the past couple years, hasn't there? If we can move into this space and we can practice this idea and we can let go of that need to be all involved in every little thing and just let God, we will regard the life that we're living not only as successful, but as normal. How beautiful. And what's so amazing when we move into this, when we evolve to this level, is there's one thing that goes away: the opinions of others. Those wonderful things that people say that make us think, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have worn this. Oh, really? This doesn't look so good? Oh my gosh, was I supposed to do it that way? Was I supposed to stand over there? You mean to tell me I went through all that and you still don't approve of me? Let us let go of the good opinions of others, because truthfully they are meaningless to each and every one of us. What will happen as you go through this process and as we begin to rewrite the story of what life is about and how we get to live it and how we get to show up is we'll wake up one day and we'll think, oh my goodness, I didn't find a single person yesterday that did anything wrong. The world is changing. People are getting much better. And that's our goal. That's where we want to head. I close with this quote from Alan Watts. "To the enlightened individual, it appears as a vivid and overwhelming certainty that the universe, precisely as it is in this moment, as a whole and in every one of its parts, is so completely right as to need no explanation or justification beyond what simply is." It just is. Let's be observers this week. Let's be participants at the level of transcending some of the stories that we had about what life is supposed to be like. And let's take some deep breaths and let some of this stuff go. Because Spirit is just standing, arms wide open, waiting to relieve us of our burdens. And all we have to do is let them go. Please pray with me. Practitioners, please stand. There is one God. One God. All being, all life, all creation, everything is because of this one God, this one presence. And it doesn't matter what name is used to call it or call upon it. It doesn't matter what religion we are or what faith we are. What matters is how we know beyond doubt that we are connected in spirit. We are connected as one in this presence. And what we know and affirm right here and right now for each and every one of us is that God is within. We cannot be separated from it. And how perfect this is. This is the perfection in which we were created. And so what I know for each and every one here today is that all are blessed. All people everywhere are blessed, regardless of whether they are in a church, a sanctuary, a synagogue, a cathedral, on a mountain trail, near the ocean. All are blessed. And God is with each and every one, giving us that opportunity to move through our lives at complete choice. And so this week we have the opportunity to choose to live in that faith, in that trust of Spirit Divine. We have the ability to choose to let go of the future and stop fretting over the past and just allow ourselves to be here now. How freeing that is, how beautiful that is. And so on this day, this Halloween day, we know that everyone will leave and depart from this building and go on about their day, and it will be blessed, it will be perfect, and by God, it will be good. I simply let it go and let it be, as we say in one voice, and so it is.
The creatures of the earth, big and small, and every hair on my head, you counted them all. The secret of the stars and the mysteries of Mars are nothing for you to solve. You are God of everything. You spoke your name and it all came into being. You are God of...
Hello, I'm Reverend Jen Wild, Senior Minister for New Dawn Center for Spiritual Living. New Dawn Center is a global community, and we welcome all people, all paths, all ways of thinking, all philosophies. So know that you are welcome here, and thank you for joining our online community.